Hello. Welcome to Aetheral Space 16.27, Knight and Squire.
Yes, welcome. We are back. Yeah. Sorry, my brain's just a little rattled from the helo.
Hello.
Helo.
Welcome to Aetheral.
Welcome to Aetheral Space. We're at 16.25. 27. 25? 5 is the number. Oh my god, my brain's gone. Knight and Squire. Shall we?
Yeah.
3 months after Elysian Fields. It's been a while since we did this, Musashi commented, igniting a weak radiant from his hand as he strolled across the room. Aklima just grunted. The atmosphere in the child garden's training room, just like everywhere else in the child garden, was terrible, to put it simply. A thick miasma seemed to hang over everything. Every word and every conversation felt heavy, cumbersome. Even glances crushed whoever they were aimed at. It had taken Musashi some time to recover from his injuries on Elysian Fields. Even with Panacea and the implant to repair his damaged eye, he'd had to go through quite the lengthy rehabilitation. For that reason, Morgan and Ioneer had been handling Aklima's training for him, and they'd let him know about her black mood. It couldn't be helped. With everything that had happened on Elysian Fields, well, there wasn't a person in the world who could come out of hell smiling. Someone who could do that wouldn't be human. Whatever the case, he was the leader of the Blades now. He had duties to fulfill. We'll begin with basic blocking, Musashi continued, turning to face his young charge. Aklima just grunted again. For the first time, Musashi's brow furrowed in frustration. Is there a problem? Why did you let my father die? A cold sweat ran over Musashi's whole body. The sword, the sin, for the briefest of moments it was all in front of him once again. Murderer. I could have saved him, Aklima murmured, eyes down on the floor. I could have at least tried, but you wouldn't let me. She looked up at him, her gaze full of uncertainty. Why? She demanded, voice shaking. Musashi took a deep breath. Assume the blocking stance, he said coldly. The uncertainty hardened in those eyes, becoming something far more fiery, and Aklima raised her cleaver sword. Her form was fine, if a little over-orthodox. Musashi swung his radiant, and Aklima blocked it. Again, strike, block. Again, strike, block. Again, strike, block. Again. Present day. Musashi plummeted down the seat of man's rotting gullet. Even though thrusters were blazing all over his body, they weren't intended to keep him in the air or even slow his fall. Far from it. They were accelerating him, speeding up his descent, all so he could reach the person before him before she hit the ground. Aklima. Cleaver sword clutched in one hand, the rest of her body flapping in the wind. The tongue tendrils that had originally grabbed her had let go nearly instantly. As far as they were concerned, their work was done. As he grew closer and closer and closer, how much longer did they have? Musashi extended his hand. Aklima! He cried over the roar of the tunnel. Take my hand! To Musashi's honest surprise, she actually did so, reaching out and seizing hold of his extended hand with her free one. And then she swung her sword towards his neck. Musashi twisted his body to avoid the blow while keeping hold of Aklima, and as he did so, the two of them finally cleared the building's throat. The thrusters switched directions, slowing their fall as much as possible, but they still landed hard on the clear floor below. Another quick thruster sent Musashi sliding away, just avoiding Aklima's second swing. Forgiveness Iron's honest contagion had completely changed the seat of man, turning it from a government building into a twisted ecosystem. And there was no better evidence of that here. That throat had wound and twisted in through the previous structure, bypassing all previous security measures, and deposited them right on top of the seat of man's central cold harvest reactor. You might just get rid of previous before security measures. The two of them rose to their feet, looking at each other from across the observation chamber, a large and circular room, the ceiling high above them. Far below, visible through the transparent floor, a massive cold harvest reactor spun and raged as it produced power. Blue light shone upwards from the massive installation, painting grim shadows on their faces. It was almost like a swimming pool at night. Aklima clutched the hilt of her sword with all her strength. Musashi ignited radiance from both hands. Slowly, like animals in the jungle, they began to circle each other. Musashi spoke first. Aklima, he forced out, the words halting and weak. I came here to save you. Aklima snorted. Liar. No, it's the truth. I thought you were still in the supremacy trap there, so I was seeking support. Powerful people. I failed. They've perished, but Aklima's cold voice cut through his justifications. Why did you kill my father? Musashi stopped. He lowered his arms, the tip of his radiance hissing against the floor. Slowly he took a breath. He began. It's not that I made a decision. Aklima charged at him, sword held high above her head. Purple aether flashed as she crossed the room in a single bound, her blade already becoming a blur as she swung it. This is so fucked because Musashi has been nothing but a good tutor to her, and her father did not even acknowledge she existed, or remember, actually, in his final hours. Musashi had to remind her that she existed. It's not okay. In perfect synchronicity with her aether core of hatred, she moved to take Musashi's life. Even with the surprise...
He did also kill her dad and then lie about it. And then
That's true.
Steal her position.
That is true. Even with the surprise attack, though, Speed, that's actually a good point. You know what? Those are fair reasons to be mad. But it seems like that's not the thing she's mad about. It seems like she's just mad about her dad dying and being killed. Even with the surprise attack, though, Speed wasn't an area Musashi could easily be beaten in. Thrusters ignited from his elbows, pushing his arms back up, and the blade was blocked by the cross of his radiance. Snarling, Aklima pushed against his strength, feet digging into the clear floor below her. I guess it's the dichotomy of she truly believes that if she had been there, she could have not only saved her dad, but that would have finally earned her the attention of her father. Like her not being loved was a result of her not being good enough instead of a result of her dad being a bad person. And Musashi is the person that put a halt to that. But, like, that's fucked up, because we know as the audience that never would have happened or mattered. Snarling, Aklima pushed against his strength, feet digging into the clear floor below her. It wasn't a decision I made, Musashi continued desperately, holding her back. I spoke to him, and the things he intended, the things he said, the brutality of that place would have kept going. I couldn't take it. I just took the sword, and you just wanted to be supreme yourself! Aklima screamed her accusation, bringing her blade down on his defense again and again and again. That's why you stuck around me too, isn't it? So you could use me, like you did at the Dawn contest! Curse hand! A thruster ignited from Musashi's chest, pushing him backwards just in time to avoid Aklima's wild grab. At close quarters like that, one touch could mean the end. He couldn't be careless. But with the turmoil raging inside his heart, he couldn't exactly bring himself to be careful either. That wasn't my intention, he insisted, sliding back across the floor as he landed. I swear to you, Aklima, I made someone a promise to become supreme and curse smoke! Musashi leapt up as a torrent of purple miasma poured across the room, using thrusters to keep himself in the air. Evade and defend, he told himself. Evade and defend. He would not fight Aklima. After all he'd done to her, he couldn't strike her down, too. Just listen to me, he pleaded. Curse blade! Aklima swung her sword through the air, and a blade of purple light launched from the weapon, firing right up towards Musashi. He flipped, avoiding the attack, but that had been Aklima's intent. She launched herself up towards him in the instant he couldn't see her, blade already ready to slice at his midsection. I would just get rid of the already. He had only a second to react as he returned to an upright position. There was no time to dodge, there was no time to block. If he struck at the same time, though, he could cut her before her blow landed. If he was careful, he could deliver a non-lethal blow. That way he could at least immobilize her and talk to her that way. No, you don't have the right to do that. Musashi accepted the blow. The blade slammed into his side and spiked him down into the floor. The clear surface resounded with the impact, producing a loud gong like that of a bell going off. If not for his focused infusion, Musashi had no doubt that attack would have cut him in half. Aklima really had grown stronger in her hatred of him. Was that pride he felt then, or shame? Aklima gave him no time to recover. As he picked himself up, she was already upon him, swinging her sword wildly. He blocked her flurry of attacks with dancing radiance, but she showed no sign of letting up. If anything, she was only getting faster, her frustration feeding into her hatred and intensifying her connection to her aether core. "Murderer!" she screamed, tears running down her face. "Murderer! Murderer!" Radiant ablaze. Musashi leapt back, and as he did so, a ring of light blades rose up from the floor, sealing Aklima between them. If she tried to touch them, she wouldn't be able to make contact. All she'd accomplish was hurting herself. Curse hand wouldn't be enough to get her out of there. She glared at him from within her new prison. "Murderer!" she hissed. Musashi straightened up, dispelling the radiance from his hands. "Yes," he agreed quietly. "I am a murderer. I killed your father, Aklima." Aklima stepped up towards the edge of the barrier. "But you must understand, at the end he was a monster. He would have killed so many. He would have. It's no excuse, but I acted on impulse. If anyone else was there and they heard what I heard, they would have done the same. Aklima reached out a hand. My intent wasn't to use you, not at the beginning. What are you doing? As Musashi watched, eyes wide with horror, Aklima seized hold of one of the radiants surrounding her. There was no actual physical object to grab onto, nothing to pour a curse hand into, just heat and force. Even so, she was plunging her hand right into the focused flame, even as her face twitched in agony. Aklima! Musashi called out. Stop! She didn't stop. If anything, she persisted, as if to spite Musashi's concern. Her infusion was serviceable, but even so, stop! Her hand began to blister. Radiant Ablaze, cancel! Aklima lunged forward the second the barrier dropped, already resuming her attack. As Musashi weaved around her wild blow, she spat accusations at him. They were sharper than her sword. You're so full of shit, she snarled, nostrils flaring. You killed my father because you wanted his throne. You tried to turn me into your game piece because you wanted my throne. An incompetent heir you can easily defeat, right? A pig fattened for the slaughter? That's what you wanted, isn't it, you bastard? It was a strange sensation. As Musashi dodged and blocked her blows, radiance flowing into like strobe lights, his mind seemed curiously far away. It was like a dream. What the hell is Forgiveness Irons doing during all this?
He's fighting Bruno and Serena over upstairs.
Oh, no, a nightmare. Aklima's face, twisted in fury, was barely recognizable. Musashi's gaze softened sadly. Do you really hate me that much? Why did you let my father die? If I'd answered that question back then, would anything have changed? If I'd acknowledged my sins instead of trying to stuff them down, would we still have ended up here? If I'd told you anything, would you still be swinging your sword like that? All this from a promise. It's funny, Marie. I've missed you longer than I knew you. Would you be able to explain to me where everything went wrong? No. He didn't need that, no matter how much he yearned for it. He knew exactly where everything had gone wrong. The moment that Atoy Musashi had betrayed his principles, this path had been set. Full throttle, overdrive. Aklima swung her sword once more, but this time it passed only through empty air. With his full speed, Musashi had effortlessly escaped her, crossing the room behind her in the amount of time it took to blink. Snarling in frustration, she whirled around. The two of them faced off, their stances opposite. Musashi stood tall and straight, a stoic expression on her face? Congratulations on your transition, Musashi. Aklima was hunched over, chest heaving, teeth bared like a wild animal. Strategy and reason had fallen away from her mind. She adjusted her footing, preparing to charge again, but before she could... You're right, Musashi said. Aklima paused, her eyes widening just a tad. I murdered your father. Musashi continued calmly. My reason doesn't matter. The fact is that I killed him. His solemn words echoed through the chamber, the blue light washing over his face. He wasn't finished. I did use you, he went on, and I intended to use you more. It's as you say. Even if I didn't acknowledge it, not even to myself, my intention was to use you as a stepping stone to become supreme. If you had ended up in that final match instead of me, and you somehow won, I would have stolen the throne for you. I wanted it that badly. Oh, from you, there you go. I wanted it. I would have stolen the throne from you. I wanted it that badly. Aklima let out a shaky breath. Musashi closed his eyes. I betrayed myself, he whispered. And I betrayed you. How can I make amends? Aklima's reply was simple. Die. Musashi's reply was just as simple. Very well, he said, spreading his arms wide, dispelling his radiance. Take your satisfaction. For a moment, Aklima just stood there, her expression consumed by disbelief. She hesitated, moving her foot back the tiniest bit. It seemed like she might just stay there, like she might just say something else. But then her mind brushed up against poisonous rage once more, and she charged. His eyes closed, his radiance gone. Musashi could not have dodged or blocked even if he wanted to. He just stood there and accepted the blow once more, and this time the heavy blade bit through the flesh of his shoulder. Musashi's calm expression twisted in pain. But this was not a killing blow. Silver aether coursed around the wound Aklima had dealt, carved right through Musashi's shoulder. The wounder's sword was now trapped in. Musashi had released his infusion to grant the blade passage, and then reactivated it a moment later, focused it to stop it before it could reach any further. Blood ran down his shirt, painting it a vivid red. Atoy Musashi opened his eyes. Aklima looked up at him, her expression uncomprehending. I'm sorry, Musashi said, his voice strained. "This is all I can give you. I have too many obligations to die here." Aklima's eyes brimmed with tears. "Liar," she whispered. "Yes." Aklima wasn't the only one dangerous at close range. Muzazi's left hand lashed out, and he delivered the swiftest, sharpest chop he could to the back of Aklima's neck. She was unconscious before she even hit the floor. Muzazi looked down sadly at her for a moment, at the girl he'd sworn to protect. But there was no time. He had to get her somewhere safe, and then he had to get back up there to rejoin the battle. If that monster Forgiveness Irons didn't fall soon, nowhere in the Seat of Mad would be safe. Gritting his teeth and focusing his will, Muzazi pulled Aklima's sword free from his wound and let it drop to the ground. Thrusters within the gash served to cauterize it, but suffice to say carrying someone around with this right arm of his wouldn't be practical right now. He crouched down to apply thrusters to Aklima's unconscious body so he could move her, "I'm dead," and stopped. All the hair on Atoy Muzazi's body had suddenly stood on end. Goosebumps claimed dominion over his skin. His heart felt cold in his chest, even as it beat harder and harder, faster and faster. A drum beat, a call to war. Slowly, he looked up. Something was coming. Above him, the lights began to flicker. Below him, the floor began to vibrate. Down the dark corridor leading out of this observation chamber, Muzazi could see dim flashes of purple aether growing closer and closer. A single eye glowing purple stared at him through the darkness. This sensation, this creeping eldritch dread. Muzazi knew it. "No," the growling voice of hell poured forth, glitching like a machine. "Recover asset. Recover. Eliminate obstacle." Not that voice. That one's got to change. A hulking form, clad in dented and damaged and distorted black armor, lurched into the room. It let out a low and long groan, like a stretched-out death rattle, a sound that seemed to creep into Muzazi's bones and scrape against his marrow. Behind it, the scraping of a mountain-heavy sword echoed throughout the halls, throughout the world, it felt like. Oh no. The flickering of the lights above increased, intensified, accelerated, and then, as one, every single light shattered. Only the cold glow remained, that and the purple aether crashing around the creature. The Abyssal Knight spoke. "Boy, again, boy. I'm repeating myself. Ark, I'll say it again. Move." We did it. We reached the end of the chapter.
Muzazi only thinks he's won the Ark's big fight, and then the Abyssal Knight shows up.
Well, to be fair, he's just telling Muzazi to move, but I'm guessing Muzazi's going to be like, "I cannot do that." Maybe he's here for Aklima, and he's like, I gotta protect her.
He's getting, like, flashbacks right now. It's like Nocturne. He's like...
How many fights does he have to marathon in a row? It's crazy.
He's having a boss rush right now.
Oh, poor guy.
He doesn't even realise this is, like, the new Game Plus Abyssal Knight.
No.
The Void Knight.
Has he evolved?
Probably no.
Probably no.
It's like, well, in my mind, Arc 6 is like when you fight the tutorial, the boss of the tutorial that you've got no chance.
Oh, it's like when you fight that guy at the beginning of Sekiro.
Yeah.
Like, I gotcha. Oh fuck. All right.
Now he's collected all 7 of the Muzazi blades and upgraded his HP.
You ready for some Aetheral questions?
Yeah.
MT asks, "What's the tallest building in Aetheral Space, and how tall is it?"
I'm not sure. I think it would probably
Karen's
be.
Trying to look up how tall the tallest building is currently.
I would say it would be Halcyon Interstellar Galactic HQ.
Is it because they have a space elevator?
Sure, they have a space elevator.
Got 'em.
They privately own a planet and its moon, and they have a space elevator between them. And that also is the HQ.
And that counts as the building.
And it hosts all their little projects.
How lovely. Wiser asks, "We do know he had..." Oh, that's not... my bad. Rirum asks, "Are there any notable examples of an interesting or prominent Skirrent type going extinct?"
I would say a lot of during the Gene Tyrant times, they had a lot of like personal royal guards that were like pugnant / an aesthetic type based on what they liked. So you have like pugnant with like chitin armor and stuff like that, and They were basically commonly fought for the Gene Tyrants and were wiped out during their evolutions.
Damn. It's fucked up.
Yeah. So I would say Scurrants, what we have now is like 30% of the original Gene Tyrants era Scurrants.
Wow, there really were a lot of Scurrants.
Yeah. Well, a Scurrant is... a Scurrant can be one guy who's been turned into like a squid. So they're not all like large groups.
Right. I gotcha.
I mean, luckily the tortoise people are going... Wait, I'm just getting news.
So, no. So if we take the whole galaxy, just as curious, raw percentage, or at least a general ballpark, what's the percentage of like crownless to main 3 subraces to Scurrants?
I would say the biggest populations are crownless and Scurrants.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would say Pugnants, then Cogitants, then Umbrants are the least.
Yeah, because I know Umbrants were like hunted down for a while. Also, they definitely like compared to the other like their shtick is good for like stealth, but like it's not nearly as advantageous in society.
It's very specialized,
yeah.
If there weren't so many of them, they would be classed as a Scurrant subtype.
Interesting. So there's like more than them than the average Scurrant subtype, but they're kind of it's almost like Pluto with the dwarf planet thing.
Borderline.
Yeah. Interesting. They get in on technicality. I wonder if there's a group in academia that's like, they should be Scurrants. Like, no.
I think you get into like politics at that point.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you saying this? You don't like Umbrants?
Curious.
I kind of noticed you collect a lot of books about the Umbrant hunt.
I can't help but notice there's more cat girls than Umbrants. Yet why are Umbrants still classified as the big 3?
Feelings. That's happened.
I love the idea of like comparing them as the big 3 like in Shonen. Alright, well thank you guys for listening and we'll see you next time.
Bye.